What's up, guys? Today I'm doing my top 15 horror films of all time. Really, it should be top 15 horror films, but really the horror genre has a lot of movies that branch off from it. You got sci-fi branch, paranormal, thriller, suspense, you got parody movies, which wouldn't really branch off of it, but you get what I'm saying. Slasher films, there's a lot of branches to the horror movie tree. It's probably the only genre that branches off more than the others do. But I've got 15 here, and it's pretty hard to pick and narrow it down to 15 of the ones I have. They're my personal preferences. The first one we'll start with here, number 15, is probably one of the newer ones on this list. It's not that old a film, and it's The Faculty. A really fun movie. I enjoy this movie a lot. I've got a review of it on my channel that I did a while back. I mean, look at the stars on the cover. You got Jordana Brewster, Josh Hartnett, Usher, Elijah Wood himself, Frodo Baggins, Jon Stewart and Robert Patrick's in this. Robert Rodriguez, the guy who made From Dusk Till Dawn, directed this, and Kevin Williamson, who writ the screenplay to all 4 Scream films, writ this one. And it's a really, really fun movie to watch. If you've never seen it, watch it. It's one of the most underrated horror films ever. And, well, it's more sci-fi, but it's really underrated, really fun to watch. I enjoy popping this in and having a good time watching it. And I hope to find a Blu-ray, because I bought this copy used, and for some reason it's not scratched up, but for some reason during a certain part of it, it skips. It just messes up, and I have to skip over it. So I'm either going to find a new DVD version of this if I can, because it's hard to find, or I'm going to find a Blu-ray version, because I bought this used, and I bought it used because it's the only copy of this I ever found and could find. And I wasn't about to pass up The Faculty. But really fun watch if you've never seen it. Really, really enjoyed this movie. And it's crazy to think that all the big teen stars at that time that were supposed to be big teen stars, and a lot of them didn't do anything after this. Elijah Wood, I think, and of course Usher's a singer, but Elijah Wood, I think, he ain't done much after this. I mean, he did Lord of the Rings, but he's not done much. Jordana Brewster did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, and I don't know what else she's done. Josh Hartnett did Hollywood Homicide, and I don't know what else he's done after this, but there's a few stars in here that were established that still did parts, but the main kids on the cover didn't do a whole lot, which is a shame, because they were good in this. Okay, and the next one, to me, is the best werewolf movie ever made. Well, actually, I take it back. It's probably the second best werewolf movie ever made, but it could make the argument for being the best made for TV movie ever. I remember flipping through the channels and stopping on Sci-Fi, and this movie was on. I was like, And I don't really like I don't like CGI blood, too much CGI hate. I don't like remakes, I don't like made-for-TV movies. This one was great, and it's Dog Soldiers. And this is the Steelbook, DVD Steelbook Special Edition, Limited Edition. And it was on TV, and I watched it, and I was like, this movie is awesome. I love the werewolf effects. They're all like 7 foot tall. I loved it, and just the makeup and that, I just loved the werewolf effects, how great it looked. It's really a real fun movie, and I really, it's really enjoyable. And this is one of those movies that I like to sit down and pop in and watch every now and then. If I'm bored and there's nothing else to do, I pop this in and have a damn good time. It is absolutely enjoyable. And it's one of those independent made for TV straight to video movies that buck the trend of them being garbage and poorly acted. It's great. How it didn't get a theatrical release, I'll never know. And how it's not as well known as it is a crying shame. There's few people know about this. I mean, I don't think people outside the horror, the people that don't watch horror movies a lot don't know about this film. But you need to find it. This right here, Steelbook, was limited edition. I got at FYE. And I swear to goodness, I watched this movie, and me and my best friend, this movie and another one, we talked about all the time. FYE, we found both of them for like $9. I found mine at FYE. Excuse me. I don't know where he found his copies, but I found this one and the other one that's on this list at FYE. 2-3 days later, I'm in Walmart. There they are. Not in it. There this is. Not in this type of case. It's in a case that's got 3 of the werewolves in it. It says Dog Soldiers. But there it is. I'm sitting there thinking, we talk about a movie that's so damn obscure no one's heard about it. And somewhere down the line they released the damn thing in the stores. That's crazy. And there it was. And I was like, and I was glad I bought this version because I love the cover and love this Steelbook. But I was like, really? You're going to do that? And the other one, I was like, it's just crazy. You talk about it, and then there it is. But really enjoyable film. If you like werewolf movies, check this out. This is, to me, one of the top best werewolf movies ever. I know a lot of people say The Howling and American Werewolf in London are good. They're great. But the top werewolf movies, in order from 1 down, is The Wolfman, Dog Soldiers, The Howling, and American Werewolf in London. Those 4 are the 4 best ones. A lot of people will probably give me grief for rating this in front of American Werewolf in London and The Howling, but I just like it better. And I don't hate The Howling. I like The Howling. I think The Howling's a great movie. I like all of them. Okay, I don't like all of them. They're all okay. 1's a classic. 2's okay sequel. Some of the rest of them are pretty garbage. The sequels ain't bad. Some of the sequels are bad. But I would sit down and enjoy watching them. The newest one that came out, Howling Reborn, is a complete piece of garbage. I didn't even watch it. I know it is because I seen the trailer and I was like, really? You made Howling in the Twilight, which is garbage. So, yeah. But that's just my personal preference. And I would love to have The Howling on Blu-ray. I'd love to have all the Howlings with the exception of Howling Reborn on Blu-ray. Because I enjoy all of them. The first one's always going to be a classic. The second one's a good sequel. I still like to have them, but I still think this is a better movie overall above that one. Now the next 2 are actually in a series. And I picked these 2 because to me you could really have just these 2 and none of the rest of them. And you could have a mini backstory and people would love it. And the first one, Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. It's my all-time favorite Friday the 13th film. I absolutely love this Friday the 13th film. I watch this one more than I watch the rest of them. It's my absolute favorite one. I love this one. To me, you could have not made, you wouldn't have had to have made any of the ones before it. You could have just made this one. You could have had Jason appear differently, like have the open and everything different than how he appeared. Set up the small story for the characters and have him kill people, and it would have done good. And people would have enjoyed it. Because to me, it's the best Friday the 13th of all of them. The first one is what it is. It's the slasher film, and it's the movie that's had so many parodies that ain't funny. Like, they had Friday the 13th. Well, then you had, and this is just the 80s. You had Christmas Day. You had Happy Birthday to Me. You had My Bloody Valentine. You just had so many different that come off in the 80s only because of this. I think they had one called Saturday the 14th or something too that was a rip off of this. But this one, The sixth one is the best one of this whole series. I really love it. Of course, this right here is the Ultimate Collection, is the, you know, that special book that Paramount delivered, which Paramount come out with like limited copies. And I kind of don't like the book because it kind of scratches the disc a little bit. And I think Paramount should have been slapped upside the head for not giving us a Blu-ray book. If not like this, like they did with Die Hard and Indiana Jones, like this, they should give us a good Blu-ray of all of them, because we only got 3 on Blu-ray. And I won't get the Blu-rays of Friday the 13th till all 8 of them are out. And I'm probably, you know, wishful thinking. But 6 is the best one. Absolutely enjoy it. And the next one, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. The second best Friday the 13th of the whole series. Really, really enjoyable. I love the facts that it has in this thing, because this thing tells you all the facts. It's the only one that doesn't open #1 at the box office. Every Friday the 13th opened #1 at the box office, except the 2 best ones, 6 and 8. 6 opened #2 at the box office opening weekend it came out. This one didn't even open nothing at the box office opening weekend. And they're the 2 best ones. So it kind of shows you, you know, 2 best ones of an entire series didn't open in the #1 spot, and they're better than the rest of them. But I really like Part 8 too. I love how it goes out and they take Jason out of his element and take him to Manhattan, take him to New York. And also it's got that kick-ass song, that rock and roll song. I can't remember who sings that song, that theme, that rock and roll riff and song that comes up. If someone knows, please let me know, because I love that song. It's awesome. I looked it up once on YouTube and I forgot what it was, but it's a really great song to this one. And that's a really, really enjoyable movie. 6 and 8 are the best ones of this whole series. I mean, if I only owned 6 and 8 on Blu-ray, if they ever had them on Blu-ray and I could only get 6 and 8, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. But I got these because it's the whole set, and they are fun to watch. This next one is a Stanley Kubrick classic. And my best friend's favorite director of all time is Stanley Kubrick, and at one time he had every Kubrick movie ever, with the exception of 2 or 3. And mainly he didn't have, there were a few he didn't have because he had no idea they were Kubrick films. And I looked them up, and I didn't know they were Kubrick films till I looked them up and told him, and he had no idea either. So there were some that Kubrick came out with that he didn't know were Kubrick films. But I'm sure he's going to build his Kubrick collection back and get every, because you know, it's his favorite director. This one though is just a tour de force. Stephen King hated this film, but you know, and they made his own version on TV, and he should have been shot for doing that. Not killed, just shot and taught a lesson. But they, you know, the Terminator should come and shot him in the kneecap and taught him a lesson about doing that. But it's The Shining. My God, this movie. This right here is a true horror film. It doesn't fit the mold of any genre. It doesn't fit slasher. It doesn't fit sci-fi, paranormal. It's straight up horror. This is a straight up horror film. And it says on the back here, the first epic horror film. And that is true. It is the first epic. I mean, this thing came out in 1980, for God's sakes. This thing's 32 years old, and I like it. I mean, I enjoy it. It comes on TV sometimes, but it's edited. When I want to watch it, I watch it this way. Jack Nicholson is masterful in this. You know, and Jack is one of my favorite actors. You know, my top 3, Jack Nicholson. You know, my top 3 actors of all time. You know, John Wayne, Jack Nicholson, Gary Cooper. That's my top 3 right there. But he does real great in this movie, and you know, Kubrick does a good job of making this movie, you know, making it what it is. I mean, you know, Kubrick and Diane Johnson did the screenplay. And of course, and it's based on the Stephen King novel, The Shining. Stephen King hated this movie, I guess, because it veers away from the novel too much. But who gives a shit? If I was Stephen King, I wouldn't give a damn. Because this movie may have came out after Carrie and before the movie Christine, but this movie, to me, with Pet Sematary, Children of the Corn, and It are the 4 definitive Stephen King movies. They are the 4 definitive. They're the ones, that you place above all the others. Stephen King, The Shining, It, Pet Sematary, Children of Corn, Stephen King movies. All the rest of Stephen King movies, here. See, those are the 4 ones that all the others try to get to, and they can't. And this one here, to me, quite possibly, is probably the best one. I like Children of the Corn, but it's like, oh yeah, it kind of weakens out at the end where it's some kind of supernatural thing, and he who walks behind the rose is like some kind of big beast that they just burn. Oh yeah, ooh. It was more scary when it was them zombie-looking children. Pet Sematary's kind of creepy, but they kind of run into it. They killed Judd friggin' Crandall. They go up that road, Lois. You kill the best character in the whole damn movie. The little boy's freaky. The scene where the mom's talking about her sister and she's all skeletal, that's freaky. That scared the shit out of me. First time I seen that movie, scared the hell out of me. I wouldn't watch it for, I was about 14, 15 years old, never seen it before. Watched that. That scene popped up, scared the living shit out of me. I didn't watch that movie again for years, because of that. That movie, it's just how bad that scene scared me. It stuck with me. And I like a movie. If it scares me, then okay, that's, and it did its job, and I love that movie. But this movie right here is the one, to me, that they all should be judged by. Jack Nicholson just does a great job. You got a great actor, an Academy Award winner, that's in a horror film, and he's got great stuff still to come, and this is one of his best performances ever. The next film is really, it's the movie that built New Line Cinema, and the original Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. Robert Shea and people from New Line call New Line Cinema the house that Freddy Krueger built, because every single Nightmare on Elm Street made money, even the god-awful sequels. And I'm talking about 2 and 6, the god-awful sequels, 2 and 6. 1, 3, 4, and 5 are great. The other 2 are garbage. Made money. They made New Line Cinema a big company. But this is the original, because Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. I hate the remake. Jack Earl Haley was a guy in half CGI makeup, and if you look, you can tell half his makeup CGI, who's trying to play Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger, and it don't work. That's like trying to replace Kevin Conroy's the voice of Batman. Alright, the guy might do his best, but he's not Kevin friggin' Conroy. That's the same in this one. When they did the remake, you knew something was missing. You're like, dude, look, his nose is squished like this, so he don't look scary. He looks like he got pizza thrown on his face. Half his makeup around the neck area is CGI, and I could see it and tell it was CGI. The boiler room was CGI. Half the boiler room was CGI. His voice, he sounded like he had laryngitis. Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. This is the best version of that movie there'll ever be. This is the classic. This is the best Nightmare on Elm Street there is. Like I said, though, 3, 4, and 5 are great sequels. Part 3 is probably the best sequel of the whole series. But, I can sit down and watch this film a lot, too. And I find it funny that these Infinifilm DVDs, they label the side of them, and it says Thriller right there. And Freddy's laughing about that. I didn't know this was a thriller. I thought this was a straight-up horror film. But for some reason, Infinifilm thinks this is a thriller. I don't know what their deal is with that. But, I'd love to get there's a Blu-ray set that has all of them together. And I don't know if it's region-free or not. I know there's an import one, but I don't know if it's region-free on Amazon. If it is, I will definitely order it, because I'd love to have the Blu-rays of all of them. But because I heard there's like a special feature for it. But overall, this is just a classic. You can't go wrong with Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie here is the one that built Universal Studios. A quick little story on Universal. They were at the bottom of the rung when it came to movie studios. They would put out mainly, serial, 2-bit serials and cheap, B westerns and stuff. That's all they've done and stuff. They couldn't match Paramount and Warner Brothers and all that. Along comes an unknown bit player named Lon Chaney Sr., who they cast in the adaptation of a classic book. Lon Chaney reads the book to prepare for the role. He takes the description of the character in this book to create his makeup and costume. And we get the first big Universal movie, which is, and this is not a Universal DVD because this movie Universal let the copyright run out on and it's public domain. But it's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Domain Dame. I didn't mean to rhyme. But 1923 is when it came out. It made Universal a bucket load of money, like a crap load of money, bukus of money. It made Lon Chaney the definitive horror movie star of the 20s. And I seen someone talk and say this movie wasn't that good. I read on the internet, said, "Oh, that movie's not that good." And I'm like, "You need to be slapped, all right? Have you not seen this movie? You need to have your face slapped upside the head, all right? Have your face smacked, all right, you idiot." But this movie's great. Lon Chaney does a masterful job pantomiming. Everybody knows the story. His parents were both deaf. And so he learned how to do sign language. And it helped him in the silent movie era because his body motion and his actions told a story. And he does a masterful job in this one. And it's one of his underrated performances because it's an older film. This movie's 90 years old this year. Think about that. September 2nd, 1923. 90 years old is this movie. And it's a great film. I mean, my goodness, how many films do you see that old that's still around? That's 90-year-old. I know there's movies even older than that, but still, that is just amazing to watch this 90 years later and be like blown away by it. It's just a masterpiece. The next movie is a silent film as well, and it is the German version of Dracula, Nosferatu. I love this movie. This is the Kino DVD, which I recommend if you want to get this, get the Kino version. It's got 2 versions on DVD. It's got a English intertitles, it's got a special feature, and then it's got the DVD disc 2, Nosferatu, with the original German intertitles. I can't speak German, so I always watch them on the English intertitles, and it has Language of Shadows and special features. The only problem is that documentary, Language of Shadows, is in German. It's a 52-minute documentary, and it's in German, so I can't understand a damn word they're saying. They should redub that in English, so I can understand what they're saying. But overall, great movie. This come out in 1922. This is one of the movies of the German Expressionist horror. This is more faithful to the novel than people realize. They changed a lot of it because of the lawsuit that Bram Stoker's widow threatened if they called it Dracula. So they changed all the names. But from what I've read and what I've seen, the novel describes Dracula exactly the way he is in this. That's how it describes him. So the makeup in this is actually how he would have looked in the novel. And I'm glad that whoever when they ordered this destroyed, whoever had a copy of this did not destroy it. Thank you, whoever you were, and whoever your family is, thank you for that. But you do need to, what they ought to do is sell the rights to it, or at least the right to release it on home video to Scream Factory and let Scream Factory put a Blu-ray of this out, because I'd love to see this thing on Blu-ray. Even though my Blu-ray player upgrades that they could do more on with Blu-ray, you could add a documentary to it then, an English one. But if you've never seen this film, it's a gem of the silent movie era. It's really, really, really fun to watch. A great gem of the silent movie era. And I enjoy it. Like it, you know, when I was younger, I wasn't that big a fan of silent films, but the older I got and I discovered them, you get an appreciation for these. If you've never seen this, check it out. Really great movie. This movie is a load of fun. And I did a review of this movie as well. I got the video on my channel. And it's an underrated John Carpenter film. And it's They Live. My God, this movie. 25 years old this year. 25th anniversary this year of this movie. And Scream Factory, I know, came out with a Blu-ray of it. And I may get the Blu-ray because Scream Factory put a documentary with it. Or like some kind of documentary or of some sorts with it. And I like how they create the covers. And if you order it from them, you get a poster, unless that was limited. If you order it from them, you get like special stuff. And I'm definitely going to try to get the Blu-ray because I love this movie. And I'd like the Blu-ray for the special features as well as the movie. But this movie is known mainly for two things. One is one of the longest fight scenes in movie history between Roddy Piper and Keith David. They beat the hell out of each other. And also it's known for the immortal line, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum." It was in this before it was in Duke Nukem. And Roddy Piper, just masterful. It's like, you know, it's Roddy freaking Piper. Being a wrestling fan and seeing Roddy Piper, you know, you're like, yeah, you know, and he just does great in it. And this is one of those movies, I rank this up there with Halloween and The Thing as one of John Carpenter's best works. It's underrated. It comes on AMC all the time. You know, there's, you know, you turn the TV on AMC, a lot of times this thing's on there. And that's how I discovered it. And I made it my life's mission to find this movie on DVD, and I finally did. This is the other movie I was talking about with Dog Soldiers that me and my best friend talk about all the time and quoted. And then by golly, there it was at FYE for $9. And I was like, hell to the yeah. And it was the last copy of it too. So it really lucky finding this film. I am going to definitely get the Blu-ray of this. And when I do, I will show the Blu-ray off and let everybody see what Shout Factory did in the new cover they made. This is one of the a good horror film. It's a good vampire movie too, and it's the original. I hate having to say that. I hate having movies now where I have to say original, but this is the original. Great vampire movie, and it's Fright Night. I've always wanted to do that, but Chris Sarandon, masterful job as the main villain. For a few people that don't know this, Chris Sarandon also is Prince Humperdinck in The Princess Bride. And I think he's a good actor. Like, you know, I've not seen him in much, but what I've seen him in, he does great. And he's also in Child's Play. Few people know that. He did this in '85, then he did the cop, the main detective in Child's Play in like 88 or 80 something. 87, 88, something like that. And then he does Princess Bride later. So, you know, he's a good actor. But you know the story of this one. Roddy McDowall's great in it. You know, great movie. I've not seen the remake, and I don't want to see the remake because I hate remakes. But I really enjoy this movie. And one thing I wish is that I could find the sequel. because I like Fright Night Part 2. I've seen it, and I like it. My best friend has Fright Night Part 2. But I think you have to order it or something, and it costs a lot of money. But I would love to find the sequel to this and have Fright Night Part 2 and be able to say that I have two of the greatest vampire movies of all time, together. And maybe eventually Shout Factory will get the rights to distribute this one on Blu-ray, and they'll do a special, and they'll do this and Fright Night 2 in a Blu-ray combo pack, which would be fine with me if they did it that way. But really fun vampire movie. I really like how they do the makeup and everything in it. Everything, the story's great. Just a real fun movie. I like how Roddy McDowall's basically a coward through the whole film, and then near the end he has to basically become the hero, get his nerve enough, and he doesn't want to do it, but he has to. So it's really fun to watch this movie. This movie's on the list, of course, because it's a classic for one, and for two, it is one of the definitive movies of this genre. And it's not so much a horror film as this would be a thriller. And it's one of the few films from this genre that everybody considers a classic. Even people that hate horror films have this movie because they don't consider it a horror film. And it, of course, is the movie, the tagline is, it made everybody afraid to go into the water. And that's Jaws. What can you say about Jaws? Spielberg, the movie that made Spielberg a big-time director. He did Duel before this, and he did this, and this movie, but, Richard Dreyfuss is in it. Roy Scheider, and of course Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw has the best character in this movie. Quint's the best character in this movie. Chiefy. He's a 25 foot of Chiefy. I love his character. He's the best damn character in this movie. And John Williams does the musical score to it. Masterful job. This is one of those movies that really, it's a Universal film. And I've noticed that when you talk about classics, that Universal has made more classic movies than almost any studio ever. They've made a lot of classics. This is the precursor to Jurassic Park, like the monster. And I like how you never see the shark till the end. And they do a great job of that. And then the shark's there, and you like the valiant battle. But Richard Dreyfuss, Hooper, they're all great in this. And it's on the list because it's a classic. I can put it in and watch it, over and over, and also because it is the movie that transcended. Like I said, there's certain horror films from the genre that are transcendent. They're considered classic movies, not classic horror movies, classic movies. And that's a rare case. You don't see very many movies that are from this genre that are considered classics. They always put classic horror or whatever with it. This is one of the few that breaks away from that, and they make it just a classic movie. And this one is another one that is in the same mold as Jaws, that's considered a classic. Not a classic suspense, classic thriller, classic horror. It's just a classic. And of course, it's also a Universal picture. You see, the trend Universal's got a lot of great. Of course, Universal's the home of the horror movie. But this is an Alfred Hitchcock classic, the grandmother of them all, as they call it, Psycho. But this movie it's the precursor. This is the movie that, of course, is the inspiration of Halloween. Halloween's the R-rated version of this. And, of course, everybody that knows and seen the story to this and Halloween, that a couple of the characters in the movie Halloween are inspired by this, namely Dr. Loomis. In this movie, the man that owns the hardware store, I think, is played by John Gavin. I believe it's John Gavin that has the hardware store, and his name is Sam Loomis, and it says Sam Loomis Hardware. Okay. 18 years later, a young kid from California makes a movie called Halloween and calls Donald Pleasant's character Dr. Sam Loomis as an homage to this. And of course, you know the other homage, Jamie Lee Curtis, the daughter of Janet Leigh, the original Scream Queen, and Tony Curtis. Anthony Perkins is great in this. There were 3 sequels that Anthony Perkins was in all 3 of them. He directed, I think, the 3rd and 4th one. I believe he directed two. He directed 2 of the sequels, but he's in all of them, and they're all good. I mean, you watch those sequels; they are all great. I liked every one of them, and that's rare. And I think it's probably because Anthony Perkins knew the character and the material, and he was the one that was over making sure, you know, and they're great. Those sequels are good. The 4th one, of course, is the weakest. I think it's the one that has the backstory that he's telling his backstory and everything about his mother. I think if that's the one I'm thinking of, it's the weakest one, but it's still a good one because you get to see the method, what makes him, you know, what makes Norman Bates, and just a really good movie. Overall, it's a classic of the movie genre itself, not just horror movies, but the movies itself. It's a classic. Really, really enjoyable. These movies are kind of hard to place. This one, really, you could say, if, you know, The Hunchback is the movie that made Universal Studios a lot of money and made them a big studio. This is the one that solidified them as a major contender. And of course, this movie also is public domain, so Universal did not release this. And I think Universal, which I'm kind of glad they didn't, because Universal's stingy. A lot of them big movie studios are stingy with stuff like that. Universal overall, though, has been good to the fans as far as last year during their 100th anniversary, giving us all those great Blu-rays like Jaws, and, you know, Smokey and the Bandit, and all those great movies they had. They had a lot of good titles they came out with for their 100th anniversary, and I respect them for doing that, but we wouldn't have saw a movie like this if they'd have done that. And it's really the first monster movie that they did. Phantom of the Opera, Lon Chaney, the 1925 version. There's nothing to say about this movie, but wow. To me, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. I got it on my list of top greatest movies of all time. You know, it's not just one of the greatest horror movies, it's one of the greatest movies ever. And Lon Chaney's makeup is masterful, and it shows you why he's the man of 1,000 faces. But I love the story. It's got 3 versions of the film on the disc. The 25 version is original, and then there's a 29 reissue. There's 2 29 reissues, and they're different. Like the 25 version is a 6mm source copy of the film presented in standard definition. It's 114 minutes. Alright, one of the 29 reissues is presented at 20 frames per second and is a 92-minute film. And all 3 of them have a brand new musical score. This version has a audio essay, which is awesome. If you have this film, play the 29 reissue version with the essay by Dr. John Marsalis, because it's great. Then the other 29 reissue is presented at 24 frames per second and is only 78 minutes. I like that they have 3 versions of the film on here, because you can go through and watch it and you can see there's different, different things in it. And of course they have the color tinted infamous ball mask scene, which is the Masquerade Ball, where he's wearing that long red cape. And it's beautiful how they color tinted it, because it really draws it out. That one scene is color tinted and you get to see that flowing red robe he's got. Just a masterful movie, really fun. This is a region A only. I've watched it. I've watched 2 versions so far, and I need to get around watching the other one, because I want to see the differences in each movie. But I really enjoy this. It's a classic of all of movies, like some other ones, not just the horror genre. But it's really just one of those films that you have to have. If you're a movie fan, you have to have this. Number 2 on this list is, of course, 2 movies together. And they're both one movie split in half, and they're also on my top greatest movies of all time. And of course, I'm pretty sure y'all can guess which ones it is. Halloween and Halloween 2. The continuation and the classic. Nothing much to say. And of course, these are the originals, because like I said in a video I did, and I've also done a review of the Halloween films, all the Halloween movies. I hate Rob Zombie's versions, and I think Rob Zombie should have the hell beat out of him for remaking 2 classics. He should be beat the hell out of, because that's wrong. And those movies are an abomination to all movies everywhere. They're the 2 of the worst remakes I've ever seen. And if you honestly say you're a horror movie fan and say you like Rob Zombie's Halloween's better than these 2, you're nothing more than a bandwagon jumping little piece of shit that don't know good movies, because these are way better than Rob Zombie's versions. I don't care how damn old they are, they're better. And come to think of it, this Halloween, I think this year marks 35 years. 35th anniversary of this movie this year, I believe. Yeah. 78. 35 years. This movie. That's hard to think. It's 35 years old and it still stands up to this day. Still. This is one of those movies, to me, like Psycho and Phantom of the Opera and Jaws, that transcend the genre. And The Shining's the same way. These movies are classics. They're not just classic horror films. Classics. I know Shout Factory released a special edition version of this that I've saw at FYE, and I will eventually get the Blu-ray of this and Halloween 3 at FYE, because I want the Blu-ray because of the remaster that Scream Factory did, and also the special features they added. But I enjoyed both movies. This is the type of movie to me that's like Back to the Future. I can't put one, and also like Rocky, Back to the Future and Rocky. I can't watch this one and not watch this one. And I hate how on TV they'll show this one and then skip right to part 3. Like, really? So AMC will show this one and then they'll go straight to part 3 and then part 4 and 5 and then Resurrection. Where the hell's this one? This one's supposed to come out here too. If you're going to do that, you need to show 1 and 2 together. What the hell? They did that one time. They had a special edition. I think it was for the 30th anniversary of this one back in 2008. They did a special. They showed all 5 Halloweens in a. They showed 5 Halloweens in a row. They showed these 2. I'm surprised. They showed this one, and then 3, 4, and 5. And then later on they stopped showing 2. Why the hell would you not show 2 when you show this one? It don't make no sense. It's stupid. I'm a guy that likes Halloween. I want to see 2 come out of this one, because I want to see the end, the continuation, the end of this. Damn it, AMC. I didn't mean for that little rant, but sometimes I just gotta get out there because it needs to be said. Number 1, and it wasn't that difficult to pick over Halloween, because really this is the essential what you think of when you think Universal Studios and Universal Pictures and horror films. These are the icons. And it's all 8 of the original classics. And it's the Universal Monsters Essential Collection. All 8 of them are number 1 because they're classics. And these are the ones that set the trend for that whole set. Now, true, Phantom of the Opera, The Hunchback came before these, and Nosferatu, they came before these, but these are the ones that made horror movies popular. This made them popular. This set, and this is the British import version. I have the lobby cards, which I'm going to hang on my wall eventually, set the standard for everything to come after it. And these are the movies that are known, what Universal's known for. And the only one in these that really is bad is the Phantom of the Opera. That movie, the 43 remake, should not be in this set. I'm sorry. That movie sucks. I mean, if you like it, that's fine, but it is a piece of shit. I watched it for the first time when I bought this set. I'd never seen it, and I'd never seen Creature from Black Lagoon. I bought this set to watch it, and my God, I fell asleep during Family Opera. That's how boring it was. I hated that. And I like Claude Rains. Don't get me wrong, Claude Rains is a great actor, and he's in my favorite monster movie, The Invisible Man. His first film is my favorite, The Invisible Man, of, the monster movies. My favorite of the monster movies, I should say. But it's not a monster movie. It's not a monster movie at all. It's a musical that they put with these and called a monster movie just because it's a remake. It's not a monster movie. What Universal could have done with this set is put the 25 version in here and took out the 43 version, and it would have been a complete monster movie set. Other than that one nitpick that movie's bad, this set is great on Blu-ray. I got this set off Amazon for $60, and that's a great price for this considering how high the price of the American version is. And it's a really awesome set. I love these movies. I love the classics. And I have heard, because these are the 8 originals, and I've heard and I've Googled it, and so far it's said that it's going to happen, but Universal is going to release every sequel to every one of these on Blu-ray. So you're going to get every sequel on Blu-ray, hopefully in a box set like this, because I'd love to have them sitting on the shelf like that right next to each other. But really, there was no movie that could have been number 1 other than the monster movie, the Universal monster movies. As good as Halloween is, really, these are the standard bearer. You make a Mount Rushmore of monster movies, you're going to put Lugosi's Dracula, Karloff's Monster, Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman, and Chaney Sr.'s Phantom on Mount Rushmore of movie monsters, and you're going to put it on the back lot of Universal because it's the home of the monsters. And the thing about it, to me, is Universal embraces the fact that these are the movies that made them. They've embraced it because they've made more suspense, thriller, horror movies than any company ever. But really, there was no contest. This was going to be number 1. That's my 15 or so horror movie list. I'm sure there's probably some on here that should have been on others. There's some I don't. There are some horror movies like I don't have The Howling, and it would have been on here if I'd have had The Howling. And there are no zombie movies, and the reason being is I don't like zombies. I do like Dawn of the Dead of the original. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and what I've seen I've really enjoyed. But I just don't like zombie movies that much. They just don't appeal to me. I even tried watching The Walking Dead. I sat down and tried to watch it. It was boring to me. The character development was too slowly paced. I just didn't like it. And when I first seen it and they started the characters, I was like, I know exactly how it's going to end. Everybody's going to die. That's exactly how that show's going to end. Either everybody's going to die, or either everybody's going to become a zombie, or the sheriff's going to be the last one left alive and he's going to blow them all up and kill himself because he'll get infected, or he'll die and kill himself to keep from being infected, or you'll find out it was all a dream. Something's going to happen. Everybody's going to die, or something's going to happen in that film, because they can't end it unless everybody's dead. But you know, I've tried to get into the series and I just can't. But I respect the zombie movie genre. I respect that branch of the horror movie genre for what it is. I respect George Romero. You know, like I said, I like Dawn of the Dead, the original. And I would like to find Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead on Blu-ray. And I have seen the Return of the Living Dead movies, and they're fun. You know, the comedies, they're pretty funny. I'm not a big zombie fan. You know, and I like Evil Dead movies, but then again, Evil Dead's not zombie; they're demons. There's a difference. The Evil Dead movies ain't really zombies. You know, the Book of the Dead they're demons. So, but you know, so don't think I hate zombie films. I respect them, but I just don't like watching them. I don't hate them, but I don't love them. But that's why there's no zombie movies on here. But yeah, rate and subscribe. You know, leave your comments below. I love hearing from you.